Welcome to the weekly current affairs class. My name is Amanjot Singh. Today we will be dealing with the current affairs relating to social issues and internal security. Okay, so our first topic is with respect to Transgenders Act 2019. Okay, there was an article 2 or 3 days back in the newspaper regarding the broad interpretation of the transgenders under Article 21 of the Constitution. So we will be dealing with the historical background, okay, the Nalsa judgment, the issues that are faced by the transgenders, and the Transgender Act in itself. Okay, as UPSC is asking very specific or concept based question, there is a high probability that they may even ask you what are the features of Transgender Act and highlight their issues. Okay, so first of all we will be dealing with the historical judgment, that is, just give me a second. That is Nalsa judgment, the judgment that deals with the transgenders, okay, or giving them a recognition as a third gender. What does the judgment says about that? Nalsa judgment states that basically transgenders can be declared as third genders, and the Supreme Court specifically asked the government of India to formulate a law protecting the rights of the transgenders. Supreme Court held that basically non-recognition of the third gender identity is a violation of Article 14, Article 19, and basically a denial of right to live with dignity. And the broad interpretation in itself, earlier as I told you, it was done under the Article 21 of the Constitution, that is right to life, and the approaches that were followed by the Supreme Court in its judgment was basically based on two things. First is the right based approach. You must have learned about the right based approach, that is giving the capability to the individual to empower themselves and making them active participants, okay, so that they can claim their rights from the government. That is a right based approach. If you want to note it down, you can also note it down. I will repeat it again. Right based approach is basically giving the capability to the citizens of the country, especially the vulnerable section of the society, so that they can claim their rights from the government and they are no more seen as the passive citizens or the passive participants of the society. And the Supreme Court derived the basic content of its judgment from the Yogyakarta principles. Okay, this was the basically judgment. I will again repeat it. The judgment that is there basically with respect to the transgenders, that is a Nalsa judgment that is there. The Supreme Court stated that transgenders are to be declared as a third gender identity and asked the government to formulate a specific law under which basically Transgender Act 2019 was formulated, okay, and the Supreme Court basically held that denial of their third gender identity is a violation of Article 14, Article 19, and in itself is a violation of Article 21, that is a right to life with dignity. Specific emphasis was laid by the justices on right based approach, that is basically empowering the citizens to claim their rights from the government, and the basic features were derived from the Yogyakarta principles. Okay. Moving forward, we will see basically the issues that are faced by the transgenders in the society, why the transgenders moved to the court, or basically why the civil society was demanding that basically the transgenders should be protected. Okay, why that was so? Basically because of the issues that were there. And it will also help you in your answer writing. Whenever you are trying to highlight the issues in your answers, always go for a specific framework that social problems are there, economic problems are there, political problems are there, and so on. Okay, it depends upon your ability how much categorization you can do. Like I have done, basically economic exclusion is there, social exclusion is there, political exclusion is there. We can straightforward also write the point that there is a denial of job, petty work they are doing, or they are underpaid, but that will give you a structured view to your answer. Always go for subheadings. First one is, first issue faced by them is, that is economic exclusion. Okay, what is economic exclusion or what is exclusion? Is basically denial of economic participation in the society. Okay, first of all, because of their identity they are denied jobs, okay, or if even they are given jobs, that is there basically they are given petty work that is not very much well recognized in the society, okay, or that the work that is viewed with contempt, okay, and further they are underpaid, they are not given the pay according to their job, okay. That is the aspect of economic exclusion, basically that denies them active economic participation in the society. Next one is social exclusion, okay. What is social exclusion? When basically you are not being a active member of the society, you are not able to participate in the social activities, you are not able to build the social capital, that is basically the social exclusion aspect. What is there in that? First one is discrimination, okay, because of their identity they are discriminated against the they are discriminated by the society. Stereotype, what is stereotype? Basically a commonsensical view of them based on some myths or basically theories, okay, that may or may not have any fact in them, okay, that it means that it may or may not be true in itself, okay. That is a something that is called stereotypes, okay, that is they are viewed with contempt because of their identity, that yes these are transgenders, okay, people do not like to interact with them, okay, or basically they are not given the proper jobs in society, or they are basically not given house on rent, okay, they are not given the right to movement, okay, then there is a violence against them, okay, whenever they try to become a main part or part of the mainstream society, or there is a movement for the active participation in the society, basically there is a violence against them by the some active members of the society, which results in denial of rights. Can we include segregation by family and peer in the category? Yes, 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 very true. That is a social aspect, okay. Discrimination, it can be discrimination can be done by anybody, it can be done by colleagues at work, it can be done by the peer group, it can be done by the family, it can be done by friends, okay, it can be done by some other civil society group who is protesting against the denial of their rights, okay. It can be done by anybody. Stereotype, again it can be held by anybody, okay. First, see, one of the biggest obstacle for transgender is, the first primary is obstacle is that their parents, or there is a denial from the family side itself, okay, for the protection of their rights. They are at very early stage, family segregates them, okay, or you will see the cases in the newspaper or in the another online content, you will see basically there is a violence done by family itself, okay, or where father is not talking properly to the transgender child, or the basically child has been orphaned because of his or her identity, okay. Again it can be done by anybody. Next aspect is a political exclusion. See, there is a chronological order to it. When you are economically vulnerable and socially also you are marginalized, so in a democracy that is based on first past the post system, how you will claim your rights? When you are already a member of the vulnerable section of the society, it is very difficult for you to claim your rights or to basically have a proper representation in the institutions, okay. That basically becomes the aspect of political exclusion. Economic and social exclusion, you can also they further aggravate the political exclusion of the transgenders. First of all, how there is underrepresentation. How many transgenders we see that are basically MPs or MLAs, or how many of them are represented at councillor level or panchayat level, okay, there is underrepresentation. Then marginalization of issues, basically if they are not represented, then the members who are representing the society, basically they are not raising their demands, okay, they are not raising their demands in the state legislatures or parliament or at the panchayat level. Then again grievances, they are not being addressed with, they can be with respect to education, they can be with respect to discrimination, they can be with related to the violence, okay, anything. So is this transgender event on birth of child, protection of self value? Can you rephrase the question, Vishal? I am not able to properly get you. What are you trying to ask? Are you trying to ask me whether the identity of transgender is defined at birth? While he is rephrasing his question, we will move forward. Then again, yes, that is what basically you will see that in the Transgender Act 2019, okay, the government has given a very objective definition of transgenders. Basically, who or he or she who may have be dissatisfied with their birth identity or wishes to change it, okay, anything can be there. It can be from birth, or it can also be from that individual who does not view himself or herself in that specific identity in which he or she is born. He wishes to change it, okay, that will also be considered. Both the cases are there, okay, at birth also, or if someone wishes to change it, okay. Then there is neglect of healthcare. Transgenders have basically specific health related issues, okay. You read your newspapers daily, okay. How many in areas you see that basically in proper multi-speciality hospitals, there are specific facilities that are there for transgenders. They have their own reproductive health problems, okay. But proper, in even if you talk about the government sector, there are not proper budget allocation is there basically to address their health issues. Or even in private sector, because they constitute a minuscule section of society, specific attention is not given towards their health problems, okay. Then there is neglect of education, okay. Again, you can link this with the basically social exclusion aspect and economic exclusion as well. See, education, because he or the transgender is a member of the economically vulnerable section of society, they or may not have basically the funds to get a good education. So first obstacle is financing the education. Take a second scenario, now that they have the funds, they are able to get the admission in the school, proper good private schools, but then there is an aspect of discrimination and violence by the peer groups, okay. The peer group or the friends basically may discriminate against that individual, or even there may be the cases of violence or ragging against that individual. Second step, the teacher may not be very proactive towards that student, okay. He or she may not give special consideration to the situation, okay. Or at large, the school administration is also discriminating that individual. So the neglect of healthcare and education is a very big aspect that is holding their empowerment back. And last is violation of right to movement and reside, like someone here was mentioning about the segregation by the family. Right to movement is the why it is separately written is because right to movement is generally held against by the society, okay. The people at large of society basically they protest against the individuals who migrate freely, okay, to another states, to the proper market area is there, or the residential area is there. You will always see in your surroundings also the protests, okay, or against the particular members of the transgender section of society, okay. Right to reside, they do not get the homes on rent, okay. That is the biggest issue. First, the family segregates them, okay. Then because of the identity, orphanage may also decline to get them admitted, okay. And at the next level, if the individual is self sustaining, the major obstacle is basically the families are not basically what we say giving the proper care to get them what we say the houses at rent, okay. That is the biggest obstacle. Even if the landlord agrees to give the house on rent, the issue is basically if it is a particular society or a gated society is there, the members of the society may protest that basically why you are giving your house on rent to the particular member, to this particular member, okay. Adoption law doesn't favor child adoption by transgender and homosexual where they are most needed. Yes, this is also the biggest issue. Basically, child adoption law, there are lacunas in the child adoption law basically that also hold their empowerment back. But the biggest issue with all this is the right to reside, okay. That is the biggest issue that they are facing, because they have to live in ghettos now. Okay, because in the mainstream sections of the society where there are normally residential settlements are there, the societies or the members of residential associations, they are not allowing the transgender individuals to take the houses on rent. Okay, so what will happen if they will not take that? Basically they will have to move to some marginalized area. Okay, and what will happen there in that area? Basically the education facilities may not be there, or the health facilities may not be there. Okay, or that may be the crime related area where they may be further exposed to the violence. Okay, so these are the general issues that are being faced by the transgenders. Economic exclusion is there, social exclusion is there, political exclusion is there, neglect of healthcare and education, and at last is the right to movement. Okay, that is protected under basically article 19. Okay, and right to reside. Okay, these are the biggest issues that they are facing. Now we will come forward, that is the basically features of the Transgender Act. It is a high probability that you may get a question that UPSC may ask, basically highlighting the conditions or the issues faced by the transgenders in society, highlight the features of Transgender Act 2019. Okay, the question may be framed like this. Okay, so what are the features? You need to have a overall view. You do not need to learn the act in itself. You need to know the overall objectives or the general objectives that are there. Okay, so that you may be able to attempt the answer. So first of all, one is they have defined the term transgender so that there is no subjectivity in that. Okay, proper definition for the first time has been given with respect to the transgenders by the government. Second thing, government has stated that we will provide the rights to transgenders. It is in line with the Supreme Court judgment where it was specifically asked to that discrimination and their rights should be protected. Okay, so the government has provided the right to transgender, that is basically with respect to residence is there, or employment is there, or discrimination is there, education is there, etc, etc. Okay, the government has specifically stated that wherever the case arise, or we feel that basically individuals are not able to get employment, or they are not able to get residence, or they are being discriminated against, special steps will be taken to empower the community. Next one, certification of identity. There is self certification of identity if the individual wishes to state that basically I am belong to a third gender. Okay, earlier there was no category, there was only male and female. Now there is a third column, that is basically there is third gender. If the individual wishes to declare itself as transgender or the third gender, the certificate will be issued by the district magistrate for that. He can carry a or she can carry a specific identity with respect to that. Okay, and next one is prohibition against discrimination. Specifically it has been stated that if the case arises with respect to the discrimination against the transgenders, then proper offences and penalties are provided, okay, to get their grievances redressed. Okay, and government may even take some special actions or specific schemes to basically prohibit the discrimination that is faced by the transgenders. And the last one is National Council for Transgenders. Here, just give me a second, here it is not written, you can note it down. Basically it is under the chairmanship of Minister of Social Justice and Empowerment. Okay, he or she will basically chair the National Council for Transgender and specifically see what are the cases or what are the grievances that are faced by them, what are the issues that are being faced by them, or what is the basically progress or growth of the schemes that are being launched for the welfare of transgender persons. These are the specific points that are being made under the Transgenders Act 2019. Again, proper definition, rights have been provided. Discrimination, government has said that basically it will not be tolerated. For that there are provisions for offences and penalties, and at last National Council for Transgenders under the chairmanship of Minister of Social Justice and Empowerment. Okay, so this was what it was there with respect to the transgenders. Now we will move forward to our next topic. Okay, you must have read this in your Hindu newspaper, a very important topic with respect to the scheduled tribes that is going on in the Chhattisgarh area. Many newspapers have covered this news on the basically front or second page also. So what is the issue is that basically there are protests going on in Chhattisgarh with respect to, because tribals are converting to Christianity. Some members of the civil society has raised the demand that basically the individuals who are converting to Christianity, they should not be given the benefit of reservation. You must be aware of the benefit of reservation that is given to scheduled castes and scheduled tribes, okay, with respect to jobs or education or employment, okay. So the demand is being raised that individuals basically who are no longer tribal, okay, or who are leaving their basically their indigenous identity for some mainstream religion, the benefit of reservation should be withdrawn from them. So however, what is the issue that is there arising in this context is that delisting the specific tribe, okay, may result in that you must be aware of the fifth scheduled areas that are being there for the protection of the scheduled tribes, okay. So if you list, for example, in particular scheduled area a tribe A is residing, okay. So majority of the people from tribe A have basically converted to some religion, suppose B. So what may happen is that if the government goes for delisting of that specific tribe, it may result in delisting of the scheduled area, okay. The specific area that is being basically special provisions are made for their empowerment because they are considered as socially and educationally backward individuals, okay. So that is a major issue that is being raised, that delisting may specifically result in removal of area from the scheduled areas under the fifth schedule of the constitution. You must be aware of the fifth and sixth scheduled areas, fifth schedule and sixth schedule specifically with respect to the four state Assam, Meghalaya, Mizoram and Tripura, okay. That is the issue, so we will take it forward, okay. So first of all, what are scheduled areas, okay. You should be very thoroughly clear because few years back the UPSC asked a very specific question that why the scheduled areas are called as scheduled areas, something like that. You can check for the specific question, okay. The question was being made in the UPSC, okay. So for that very conceptual clarity should be there. Under article 244, areas defined as such by the President of India and that are mentioned in the fifth schedule of the constitution, they are known as the scheduled areas. See, there is a difference between the scheduled areas and the tribal areas. Tribal areas are those that are mentioned under the sixth schedule of the constitution, okay. So according to article 244, areas that are defined by the President of India and are mentioned in the fifth schedule of the constitution, they are known as the scheduled area. Why they are called as scheduled areas? Because these are inhabited by the socially and educationally backward is not written here, so socially and educationally backward aboriginals. Aboriginals are known as basically the original inhabitants of that area, they are known as aboriginals, okay. And this is for your prelims also. This year also the question was made in the prelims with respect to the tribal areas, okay. That area that is mentioned under the fifth schedule, okay, it is must or mandatory for that area that a tribal advisory council should be established for that area, okay. You can search in Google or you can read your books with specifically with respect to the what are tribal advisory councils, okay. How many members are there, how many members are nominated by the governor, okay, or what are their special powers, okay. You can read about it, but you should know that for a fact that the areas that are come under the category of scheduled areas, it is necessary for them that tribal advisory council should be established for them. Presently there are 10 states in India that have scheduled areas. Everybody is clear with respect to the scheduled areas. What are, because this is some technical, okay. You can reply me in the chat box. Is everybody clear with respect to what are scheduled areas? Okay, so we will move forward. Next is the basically now coming to what are scheduled tribes. We will see what are, we have seen basically two things, technical things are there. One is scheduled area and another thing is that is the scheduled tribes. We have seen that basically what are scheduled areas, why they are called so, who basically enlists the scheduled areas. Okay, now coming to scheduled tribes. Under Article 366, scheduled tribes means tribes as are deemed under Article 342 of the Constitution. Just give me a second, query is there, why there is a need for excluding northern states from the 5th schedule and creation of 6th schedule. See why they are basically, difference is in scheduled areas it may be the case that majority, for example 100 people are residing there, majority, if majority of them are tribals, then it is known as a scheduled area. Okay, if the area is fully constituent of the tribal areas that are being put in the 6th scheduled areas. Okay, clear? In scheduled areas, the majority of people living in that areas are tribals, not whole or the complete population is tribal. Okay, that is why. Okay, that is why specific another list is made for the tribal areas under the 6th schedule, where most of the or 90 more than 95% of the population is tribal. Okay, and we have another provisions for them, the areas that come under the 6th schedule. Okay, you have to make autonomy councils that are there. Okay, in 5th schedule you have to make tribal advisory councils. In 6th schedule separate institution is there that are known as autonomous district councils. Okay, that are manned also by the scheduled tribes. Okay, so coming to scheduled tribes, under Article 366, what does it state? That the scheduled tribe means tribes as are deemed under the Article 342 of the Constitution. Okay, that the list that is specifically made, if the specific tribe makes to the list, it will be called as a scheduled tribe. If somebody is deleted from that list, okay, then basically they will be excluded from the list of the scheduled tribes. We will provide you with the PDF, Vishal. Okay, you can take notes from them, just listen for time being. Okay, you can make additions to this, okay, as you like. Okay, see under Article 342 two things are there. Okay, I will be going on some in detail. Under Article 342 subsection 1, what is there? That president, or if the specific category is given state, then governor basically may include or exclude any tribe from the list of scheduled tribes. And under Article 342, this is basically subsection 2, Parliament may also by law include or exclude scheduled tribes from the list. Okay, it is, you should be very clear about this. Under Article 342, two provisions are there, that president or in case if the name is given to state, then governor basically may also include or exclude the scheduled tribes from the list. And another provision is there that Parliament may by law also include or exclude scheduled tribes from the list. Basic again in nutshell, who are scheduled tribes? Basically all the tribes that are deemed by the President of India and are listed under the Article 342 of the Constitution, they are known as scheduled tribes. Okay, moving forward, basically how we can determine that basically this is a scheduled tribe. Okay, obviously so many policy makers are sitting, everybody has a demand. For example, there are 10 tribes, 8 of them are demanding that basically we are scheduled tribes. Okay, but some are raising doubt that basically they are not scheduled tribes. So there should be some criteria that should define them basically that they are scheduled tribes. Sorry. Okay, this is a general criteria that is being followed, but it is not written in the Constitution in Constitution of India. You should be very thoroughly clear about it, that the criteria used for the defining the or criteria used for determining that particular tribe belongs to the list of scheduled tribe or not. Basically, the criteria is not mentioned in the Constitution of India. It is generally followed, and the five basic things that are seen are that how much backward the tribe is, okay. Second one, how much geographically isolated that particular community is, okay. For example, in Andamans that Sentinelese and Javas are there, okay. Then shyness of contact, how much of contact is there with the mainstream society, that is the case, okay. Then distinctive culture, indigenous culture, irrespective of the mainstream culture that is there, mainstream religions, Hinduism, Muslim, Islam, Christianity. Besides these, the distinctive culture or the indigenous culture, the particular beliefs and practices that are being followed by the group, that is distinctive culture and primitive traits, okay. These are basically the five things that are usually seen while determining the scheduled tribes. Again, backwardness, geographical isolation, shyness of contact, distinctive culture and primitive traits, okay. Moving forward, then specifically power, what are the powers of governor under the 5th scheduled area, okay. This is very important, you may get this thing in your prelims exam also, as UPSC is going for more factual questions. See, any particular act of parliament or state legislature shall apply or not apply to scheduled area of the state or a part of it. Governor has the power to determine that if any act, if suppose the parliament has made an act or the state legislature has made an act, governor has the power to determine that if that specific act should apply or not apply to the area, whole of the area of the scheduled area of the state or a part of it, okay. That means the partial implementation, governor has that power. Next is, governor can also, for example, governor decides that yes, I will allow the act to be implemented, okay, but I will go for some specific modifications or exceptions according to the social situation that is present there, okay. Governor can issue any modification or exception regarding the implementation of the law, but for that he has to take the assent of the president, okay. Two main powers of governor that are there under the 5th schedule. Again, any particular act of parliament or state legislature may apply or may not apply to the scheduled area, whole of the area or a part of it. It is the power of the governor to determine. Again, if the governor decides that I will allow the act to be implemented, then he can also allow for modifications or exceptions to the specific act, but only with the assent, previous assent of the president, okay. Moving forward, these are the two acts that you should specifically know with respect to the scheduled tribes, okay. These should be on your tips, okay, in any whether it is a GS paper, whether it is essay, whether it is ethics, or if your optional is like sociology or okay political science, you may basically have to deal with this. Forest Right Act, you should always be aware that there are 4 type of rights that are granted to the scheduled tribes under the Forest Right Act. This is a major, basically what we say, act that has empowered the scheduled tribes, okay. Earlier the acts were very much criticized, national forest policies were very much criticized for not empowering the scheduled tribes and marginalizing their concerns. Forest Rights Act is basically considered as a dawn in the empowerment of what we say scheduled tribes. 4 types of rights, that is basically, first one is title rights with respect to ownership of land. In specific tribe is living in a forest area, then up to the maximum of 4 hectares of land, the scheduled tribe is given the titleship rights or the ownership rights for that land, first one. Second one, user rights, minor forest produce, most important thing, okay. The scheduled tribes will have their right to minor forest produce from the area. You should know that basically earlier, when in the British era or even in post independence in the earlier years, the scheduled tribes were criminalized for these things if they were taking the what we say produce from the forest, okay. They were criminalized for that. Forest Right Act 2006 basically granted them the right to minor forest produce, that basically they can have their right to the produce from the forest. Third one, again important, relief and developmental right. You should know that basically there are many dams that are being built in India, okay, and there is a displacement obviously with respect to wherever the dam is built or wherever mining is going on, and these areas are specifically basically the majority of the cases the areas belong to the scheduled tribes, okay. So they have the specific statutory right of rehabilitation has been given to them in case of they are going illegal eviction is done or forced displacement is done of scheduled tribes. They have the well protected right of relief and developmental right that government will provide 100% help in rehabilitation of the scheduled tribes in case of housing is there or employment is there or all the other issues that are being faced by the scheduled tribes due to the eviction or the displacement. And last one is the forest management rights. It states that basically the tribes, scheduled tribes basically have the permission to basically for the sustainable use of the forests, and because they have been living for the so much time, for so many years or so many centuries in that particular place, they have their indigenous knowledge to protect the forests, okay, and they can use that knowledge to basically protect the forests. Again, 4 rights very important. First one is title right with respect to the ownership of land. Second one is user right with respect to the minor forest produce. Third one is relief and developmental right, again with respect to the rehabilitation in case of eviction or displacement. And last one is forest management rights for the sustainable use of the forests and as well as protecting them. Okay, moving forward, again next important thing is Land Acquisition Act 2013. Okay, very important. The specific thing that I have highlighted here is basically because of the importance in the prelims exam. Okay, you should know that no acquisition of land in scheduled areas shall be made without the prior consent of the Gram Sabha, or if Gram Sabha is not there, then Panchayat or the autonomous district council. It is mandatory for the government to have the prior consent in case of basically acquisition of land or land alienation. If is there, the government will have to take the consent of Gram Sabha or Panchayat or the autonomous district council. That is also a home task for you, that you will go, 2 acts are mentioned here. I have already told you about the Forest Right Act and the Land Acquisition Act. Okay, you can search on Google also, or if your polity books are there, Lakshmikant, there is a very specific very holistic explanation that is given with respect to the PESA Act that is there, Panchayati extension to the scheduled areas, and also learn about it, what are the specific rights that are being given to the scheduled tribes or how the Gram Sabha is empowered. Okay, that is very important for the mains as well as the prelims aspect also. Okay, moving forward. So this was there, that was there basically with respect to the social issues, 2 important topics with respect to the scheduled areas and tribes, and another one with respect to transgenders. Now we will move on to the security part. Just give me, has the playlist for PSIR by Raj sir? I do not, Arjun, I do not know about it. Okay, I will convey your message to the management. Okay, your specific concern, I do not know whether it is being removed or not. Okay. Now moving on to the internal security part. You must have seen that basically a uproar was created in the country with respect to the Udaipur killings and the Amravati killings. Okay. And what happened in the aftermath was that NIA took over that case. NIA is basically National Investigation Agency. Okay, it took over that cases to be investigated by itself. Okay, central government thought that basically we will get these cases investigated by the National Investigation Agency. So many individuals, former judges, bureaucrats, civil society activists have highlighted their concern that basically as police and public law and order are state subjects, there is an increasing trend towards the centralization of authority. Okay, that the areas which are to be managed by the state governments, there is increased central government interference in that area, specifically with respect to, as you already know, that police and public law and order, these are the subjects of the state government. Okay, so what issue arises here is issue arises of the basically federalism versus the features of this act. Okay, that makes it a tricky issue, and you may get this type of question in mains as well, or you may get asked, as you have, if you have seen this year's prelims exam, you will see that UPSC is increasingly asking questions on statutory body, like on coal statutory body was there. Okay, or so you may even get question asked on National Investigation Agency. Okay, I have already explained you about the background. Okay, so we will be moving forward. What is NIA? NIA is National Investigation Agency. It was established in 2008 after the 26/11 terror attacks that happened in Mumbai. Okay, it is a statutory body made under the NIA Act itself. Okay, what does it investigate? It investigates offences basically dealing with the sovereignty and security of India, drugs, fake currency, terror acts, etc. Basically, you can say that in nutshell, it deals with the terror cases, organized crime, and anything that hampers the security and integrity of the country. Okay, very important for your prelims that it deals only with the acts that are mentioned in the NIA Act. Okay, it does not deal with whole of the criminal procedure or the IPC sections. Under the NIA Act, specific lists have been mentioned of some acts that basically the NIA is entitled to investigate. If the crime happens under that act, then NIA is entitled to take over that case. So again, another important issue with respect to your prelims exam, see, two things are there. Okay, one is state government can refer a case to a NIA that, see, we are having hands full, we do not have that manpower or technical, okay, capability to investigate that particular case. So please take this case, okay, catch the culprits and give justice. Okay, that is one case when state itself handles over that case to the NIA. Second aspect is that central government may take suo moto cognizance, and if it feels that any crime that has happened, it deals with the specific list or the acts that have been mentioned under the NIA Act, or it deals with the terror case, or it hampers the security or integrity of the country, okay, then it may allow the NIA to investigate that case, and that is suo moto, means in itself without the consent of the state government. Okay, you should be able to make a difference here that in the case of CBI, okay, this is also important for your prelims, that in the case of CBI, it is necessary or not necessary, it is mandatory for the CBI to take the consent of the state government if it wants to investigate any crime that has happened in the state. Okay, but in the case of NIA, okay, if the central government feels that basically the case should be investigated by the NIA, it can allow the NIA to take over that case without the consent of the state government, whereas this is not possible in the case of CBI, where it is mandatory for the CBI to get the consent of the state government if it wants to investigate that particular crime in the state. Moving forward, so what are the issues that are being that have arisen here? First of all is, see, state government have no say if central government decides to take over that case. Okay, if thus, see, two opposition parties are there, one is in the central government and another party B is in the state government. Okay, there is a case of that proper cooperative federalism is not there between these two states. Okay, and crime has happened in the state, and central government feels that NIA should take over that case. Okay, but what has happened is that basically because of the issues in the center state relations, okay, central government basically does not have, state government does not have any say. Okay, if central government has decided that NIA will investigate that case. Okay, so state government will have to basically accept that. Okay, it cannot do anything about it. Second point, constitutionally, see, public, I have already mentioned it, public order and police are the subject matter of the state government. Okay, you know about the 7th schedule, that, and basically list 1 is there, union list is there, state list is there, concurrent list is there. Okay, we have a constitutionally limited government. Okay, there are proper powers that are assigned to the central government, proper powers that are assigned to the state government, and there is a concurrent list which requires the cooperation between both the governments. But public order and police are state subjects. So whenever NIA interferes and take over that case, basically it is encroaching upon the jurisdiction of the state governments. Okay. Third thing, unfair use of suo motu cognizance. Again, I have already told you that if there are parties, basically politically opposite parties are there. Okay, one party and party A and party B, for suppose party A is in center, party B is in the state government, and party B belongs to the opposition government. Okay, so because of political rivalry, okay, the cognizance that the central government basically Bilal, I will give you my number at the end of the class. Okay. So where was I? I was telling about the unfair use of suo motu cognizance. So whenever there is a political rivalry between the central and state government, it may result in the unfair use of suo motu cognizance. And another thing with unfair use is the political interference even in matters of routine law and order. Okay, in petty crimes. Okay, just because of political rivalry. If there is a proper terror case, that is a different case. Okay, everybody understands that it needs to be investigated by the NIA, and proper linkages of the organized crime needs to be taken care of. But even in the cases of routine, for example, some normal crime has happened, okay, and with the help of media sensationalization or media in today's days, what is becoming of hyper news or TRP things, okay, sensationalization of the case and political interference even in matters of routine law and order. Okay, so again it becomes a headache for the state government. And last one is basically designation of individual as terrorists can be misused against the political opponent. See, you need to understand that whenever any individual is designated as a terrorist, you must be knowing of UAPA Act, UAPA Act. It is under that act, okay, that individual is designated as a terrorist. Okay, so whenever an individual is designated as a terrorist, there is always a chance of political witch hunting. Okay, so that is another issue that is basically there, and it becomes important in the case of federalism. Very important topic for the what we say mains part. You should make a, I think, whole 150 to 200 words note on the federalism issues. Okay, that is very important topic, whether it is with respect to the GST, that issue is going on, okay, or cess charge issue is going on, or the issue of the governor is there, or issue of NIA is there. Okay, make a proper note so that it can help you in your mains exam. Okay, so this was all that was there with respect to the what we say security. Now I will give you a question at the end that you have to attempt. Okay, so the question is, India is slowly moving towards the unitary form of government, defeating the principles of federalism embodied in the constitution. Discuss. This is a 15 marker question, you have to answer in 250 words. Okay, you know already where to submit your answers. Okay, please the answer that is given to you, please start writing. Okay, submit it, they are properly evaluated and proper feedback response is given to you. Okay, it is never late to start answer writing, and it is very important, okay, for your mains. Okay, you can never start mains answer writing after your prelims exams. Okay, like it is said, apple a day keeps doctor away. Similarly, one question a day basically helps cover you miles in your mains preparation. please start writing. Faculty is already what we say evaluating these questions and your answers that are being submitted at the site. So this will be all from my side. Thank you. Bilal, you have already number of institute. Okay, just call there and say that basically I have to talk to Aman sir about something. Okay, take my name and they will connect it to me. Okay. So any another doubt or something, or it will be done from my side.